Welcome back to Deaner's Diner. Today we're going to be making some homemade chicken wings in the crock pot. We're going to start off by cleaning our chicken wings, and these are all cleaned up. I went ahead and cut off the wing tips. Got them right here. I'm going to add them to my freezer bag of chicken that will go in for chicken broth. So don't throw those out. You want to make good use of them. After I washed them, I did go ahead and just kind of dry them off lightly with a paper towel so they're not sopping wet. Let's get our spices mixed together. So into this is a 1 cup container, we're going to add I only have 2 tablespoons of paprika. So to use sweet paprika, I don't have sweet paprika. I do have 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And I went ahead and took up some of the dried onions that I dehydrated last year. And I'm just going to add that. And this is a powder of onion and garlic. I'm just going to add that in for extra flavor. I've got about, 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And we've got some 1.5 teaspoon. No, this is just 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. You could add more. I just don't want it too hot. And then we've got our garlic powder, and this is just 1 tablespoon, or actually 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. I've got some mustard powder, and that's about 1 teaspoon. Getting my teaspoons and tablespoons mixed up. I'll have the recipe in the description. And we've got about 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. Did go out in the garden, grab some basil, thyme, and sage, or basil, rosemary, and sage. Get that out of my mouth the right way. And we're just going to mix this up, whisk it up real nice. So in my cup here, I have 2 tablespoons of paprika, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of dried chopped onion with a little bit of garlic and onion powder that I made last year. And we've got 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of cayenne pepper, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1 teaspoon of mustard powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of regular pepper. And I did go ahead and add in some sage, fresh basil, and fresh rosemary. So we're going to get this all mixed up, and we're going to put a part of this onto our chicken. Once we got our spices all mixed up, I'm going to take out about 1/4 of the spices, and we're just going to set those aside because we'll be doing something with that later. So you want to save that. I'm going to very lightly oil the sides and the bottom of the crock pot. Use whatever oil you feel comfortable using. You could just spray it in there, but I don't have any spray. So just get that rubbed in. Okay, once we got that all oiled, I'm just going to lay my chicken in here. I'm just going to sprinkle on a little bit on each piece of the spice seasoning. And just on both sides of the chicken. And don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Of course, they were clean first. And we're just going to layer it like that. After we get this done, we will be making our sauce. And that 1/4 cup of reserved spices will go into our sauce. So we'll get this all finished. And we'll sprinkle the rest of this right on top. All right, let's get making our sauce. For our sauce, I've got a 2-cup measuring cup, and I added 1 cup of ketchup. I'm going to add in 1/3 cup of maple syrup. Now, maple syrup is a good sweetener to use. I am going to add, and you do not have to. You could just add more maple syrup, or you just don't need to add. I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon or so of honey. My guests are not too much on having it to be too spicy, but there will be a spice component to this. I just want to make it pleasant enough. So that's up to you. Also, get my recipe out of the way here. I've got 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And this is reduced soy sauce. This is reduced soy sauce. Yeah, that's what it is. And this is 1 tablespoon. And I am going to add my liquid smoke. Oh, the liquid smoke was already in there, and I added about a teaspoon to my soy sauce of the liquid smoke. We're just going to get this mixed up. And then we are going to be adding our reserved 1/4 of a cup of seasons. Let's get that in there and get it all mixed up. And it's going to look something like that. Okay, so we've got our crock pot on low, and we're going to set the crock into the container for the crock pot. Now we do want to take out a 1/4 of a cup of the sauce with the seasoning, because we're going to be using that later on in the day when we are ready to put our chicken wings in the broiler, and we'll brush that amount on our chicken. For right now, we'll just take the rest of it so you can refrigerate that reserve and have that ready for later in the day. So I do have my slow cooker on low, and I have at least 6-7 hours before we need to eat this, so I can keep this on low. If you wanted this done in about 4 hours, you'd want to put this on high. All right, the chicken is nice and tender, and we're going to get this on a pan. I did turn my oven on to broil, and we're going to take the chicken and just set it on this pan. You could use a rack, and you could spray your rack. I am just going to put the chicken on here, and we'll put some of the reserved spices and sauce on top of it. Okay. And we're just going to brush a little bit of this on each piece and get this into the oven. So believe it or not, that little bit that was in this dish was enough to cover this amount of chicken. And this is actually 6 pounds, if I haven't told you before. And we've got that in our broiler up close, and we're going to let that go for about 2 minutes on each side. Actually, we're going to cook it on each side for 5 minutes under the broiler. And I took my chicken out of the oven, and I'm going to just turn it over and just kind of toast it on the other side now. And our chicken wings are done. Let's have a little taste test. All right, I let it cool just off a little bit. Very tender. It's not dry. A little bit of heat to it, not much. Very good chicken wings. So if you go out to a restaurant and you want to save yourself some money, buy yourself some chicken wings, get yourself some barbecue sauce, put it on, cook it up, and have a tasty meal for pennies on the dollar.